Hello, my name is Nick Hoffman, and today I'm going to be showing you how I make some legs for that tabletop we made last week. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, what I've got here is some scrap oak and some pallet stringers. This is going to be the primary material I use. Next up, we get the thickness planer out, hook it up to the collection, and run with it. Now we move on to an older piece of machinery, but it still works just fine. We've got to get a jointed edge on one side of each of the boards to make sure we have a good reference on the table saw. Now onto that all-important table saw riff, we gotta make sure we're referencing exactly to the jointed side to make sure things stay nice and square. Now that we have our squared edges referenced to each other, we need to chop it down to length on the miter saw. Keep it tight to the fence, and it works just fine. Now we need to get the stringer woods up in the vise and cut out our mortise for the cross section that we're going to be using some scrap oak to make. Once we've got the mortise cut, we're going to need to go in with a chisel and knock out the excess. This way, when we get things together, it all slots together. Now that we've got all our joinery cut, we gotta start gluing things together. In this case, I'm gonna slot it all together and then glue it and hold it with a clamp while I install the screws here in a moment. Now what we're going to do here is drill our holes with a normal twist drill, countersink using a spade bit, and then we're going to install the screws. In this case, I'm using frame lock screws. Now on the top, we go ahead, put the glue on, get things nice and centered, and then do the same process, except we're only going to put in one screw, and I didn't use the clamp this time, which was a mistake in hindsight, which you might see a little bit later. now, just like everything, we gotta sand it. 80, 100, 120. Now is when we start making some modifications to that tabletop from last week. What needs to happen is a 45-degree chamfer on the bottom. I believe I did it to 1/2 inch depth. Just going to put the bit in the router here and then do a quick run around with it. Now here's where you might be able to see that issue. What I had a problem with is there was a slight bit of twist in that second one, and to square it up I had to force it pretty hard. Thankfully I'm using these relatively heavy duty wood screws, so shouldn't be too big of a deal. Now that everything's sanded and the tabletop's attached, we're going to stand it up on my stain cart and we're going to put a walnut stain on it. Since it's multiple different types of wood, it should still keep the contrast, but it's going to darken everything a good bit. Once the stain's done, we're going to put on a few coats of warm satin polyurethane. We're using Minwax here because I'm cheap. Well, no, thanks for watching. Hope you all have a good day. If you have anything you think I could do better, let me know down below. God bless.